juniors, and we have several presenters. This is the first of our parent meetings for the spring season. This is particularly for juniors and their parents and families to begin to gather information on your post-secondary options. So tonight our goal is, I'm kind of going to give you a little bit of a timeline, and then we're going to hear from our presenters. We have joining us tonight, we have Sergeant Amanda Short from the Wisconsin National Guard. She is going to be talking to you about not just the Guard, but some military options. So feel free to wave, Sergeant Short. Then we have Lorelei Zimbauer from UW Stevens Point. She's going to be talking to us about some of the UW options. And then we have Hannah Erdman from Ripon College, and she's going to be talking to you about some of our private school options. And then I'm going to do some double duty. Our Fox Valley Tech representative was unable to be here with us tonight, so I'm going to give you a brief overview of the technical college and their programs. And we're going to talk about the world of work and apprenticeships and kind of a timeline of where you should be. I will tell you just a quick story. I am a parent of a junior. I'm also the parent of a sophomore in college. And my older child, sophomore, knew from very early on what she wanted to do, where she wanted to go. We did a couple of quick tours between sophomore and of junior year. She chose, she picked, she applied, done. My junior right now is a whole different story. He's not sure really what he wants to do, where he wants to go. So I'm trying to give him all the options and kind of scooch him along. But I will tell you, if your child or you, if you're here, still is very unsure, it's not too late. I always say it's never too late to make a choice for your future. So about this time, we begin, if you have not already, kind of our information gathering, which is why I usually host this, because I want parents and students to have an opportunity of kind of what's out there, and have an opportunity to hear from people who work in those institutions. And then I will plug, and I'll also plug at the end, my junior conferencing with juniors and their parents that I have open several evenings in the spring. We can also do a school day conference. We can do them live. Yay. You can come in here to school and meet with me. We can also Google Meet. But my goal is to meet with all juniors and their parents. So sometime this spring. So feel free to contact me to schedule that. And we meet for about a half hour, but it's a time where I can kind of zone in on you and your student. And then May is our time where we do our scheduling for the fall. And so I will be obviously talking schedule for the fall with your junior. And this year we're going to be doing some kind of paper things. And hello and welcome. We're going to be doing some paper things and kind of going through there, so parents have an opportunity to see what their students are picking for classes and sign and approve those. So that's kind of the timeline. So I'm conscious of everybody's time. I want to start first by introducing Sergeant Amanda Short. And I'm going to kind of keep admitting people as they come in. So this is Sergeant Amanda Short. She's with the Wisconsin National Guard. And I invited her because I do think the military options are very good options, and maybe some options that aren't always well thought of. So I'm a big fan of providing everybody all the information that they need. So, all right. So welcome, Sergeant Short.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody being here. I'm just going to pop up my presentation for you. So before everybody tunes me out because I'm in the military and their kid is tracking college, I am going to throw out a pitch that you don't do that, because 90% of the kids I enlist as a Guard recruiter are actually college bound. And the reason that they join the Guard is to pay for school. So Most of my kids serve 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks every summer. The rest of the time, they're a college kid like anybody else, except that they're going for free. So stick with me through all of this, and I promise at the end, we'll talk about how they can go for free. So my presentation is called Financial Freedom and Career Opportunities within the United States Military. A little bit about me personally. I've been recruiting in Waupaca County for 8 years. You may have seen me at the fair or at the rodeo. I'm always there. Your kids definitely have known me since middle school, which makes me sound really old, but I've known them since middle school, meeting them in gym class and all sorts of things. So if you mention Sergeant Short, they usually know who I am. Sometimes they just call me the angry redheaded recruiter though. So a little bit about me personally. I have 5 kids. My bonus daughter is a junior, so I'll be sitting through one of these presentations very soon myself. My oldest is a freshman and is already tracking a very expensive college, so already looking at the Guard herself. So for you parents who have not served, a lot of times the first question you're going to ask your kid if they're interested is why? The number one thing that I hear from students is a sense of duty, a sense of service to others, of service to community. And usually these are the kids that I call the givers. They want to be firefighters, police officers, nurses, social workers. These are people who, to feel fulfilled, want to serve others. And if that's the kind of kid you've raised, you're doing an amazing job, because without a doubt, they are some of the most unselfish kids I've ever met. Another reason people serve: financial benefits. Like I talked about with the Guard, it's 100% tuition. If you go active duty, you get the benefit of that full paycheck while living on base, which doesn't cost you anything, and getting fed and learning a job skill. There's also the sense of adventure. I mean, the military, obviously, we get to do some pretty cool stuff. Last year, I got to fly in a Black Hawk with the doors open, so that was really neat to me. There's a chance to travel, all those neat things. And then lastly, there is the sense of responsibility. And what I mean by that is when you put a kid into the military, they're suddenly responsible for thousands of dollars worth of equipment, when a year ago they could not find their calculus homework. They are responsible for their team members around them, for, their subordinates. And it gives them this leg up and this maturity that otherwise takes a few years to come. So those are some of the whys on people choosing to serve. Sorry, my PowerPoint is very slow. There we go. So I'm so sorry. You know what? I hate to do this to you. I'm going to kind of shoot from the hip a little bit, because it's just that way you're not stuck staring at my screen. So requirements. You have to be medically qualified, and by that, just not on medication at basic training, not somebody who has anaphylactic shock from allergies, that kind of stuff. The thing you don't have to be, though, is a high-level athlete. We can train anybody to compete physically, but the thing that I can't train heart. So if someone has the desire to serve, I'm going to help them get there any way I can if they have the heart for it. Morally qualified, the military has higher, more stringent standards than ever. Basically, any kind of drug charges are a problem. Underage drinking charges are case-by-case basis. No felonies, obviously, nothing like that. And certainly that's not usually the case with high school kids. But my point simply is our standards are very, very high. This is not, 1962. Education-wise, they have to graduate high school or be on track to graduate when they join. They have to pass an ASVAB, which most of the juniors took this year, and quite a few of them did very well on. And lastly, tattoos, piercings, just nothing on the neck, face, hands. And if kids get piercings, I always say try to stay away from the gauges. So why active duty as opposed to the Guard? For one, travel. Kids are always excited to get stationed in neat places like Japan or Italy or Hawaii. The flip side of that, of course, is you could also end up stationed in a swamp in Mississippi. So it's kind of it's a gamble. But for some kids, they like that. Some kids who join too are not ready for or interested in college. You see some kids take a gap year, and if you're going to take a gap year or 2 years or 3 years, why not learn a job skill and get paid is their philosophy. It's also a full-time job with training. We provide all the training except that we pay you to learn. So instead of going to tech school and paying for that privilege, we're paying you. So downsides of active duty. Deployment. It is very common on active duty as opposed to the reserves like what I do. Yeah, you can end up some pretty strange places. Sometimes you don't see your family for a year or two, but you make the best of it. There's base living. You're going to live in an 8x10 room with 1 or 2 other people. You might like them, you might not, but you'll be told to figure it out one way or the other. And lastly is the needs of the military. If the military needs you for a 12-hour duty day, you're serving a 12-hour day. If they only need you for 8, neat. You're serving 8. If it's Saturday night and you're out with all your friends and they need you back at base, you're going back to base. So that's something that is very true about active duty, but not so much about what we do. So the different branches, I'm going to make this very brief because obviously you're welcome to speak to a recruiter of the individual branches. But basically the Army is our largest branch. So there's more duty station options, more job options, more opportunity for promotion, that kind of thing. The Navy is ships, submarines, and planes. It is a great branch if it's somebody who likes to be indoors, because even their basic training is indoors because they're training you for life on a ship. The Marines have the toughest physical requirements, but they outsource a lot of jobs to the Navy. So the Marines don't have medics, or as they call them, corpsmen. They use Navy corpsmen. They use Navy chaplains. So they tend to be a little bit more narrow on the jobs sometimes. But, if they have the job that you love, no big deal. The Air Force actually has more engineering and more tech jobs than any other branch. So a lot of kids that are looking for super high tech jobs gravitate Air Force or sometimes Navy if they're looking to stay within the nuclear field. And lastly, there's the Coast Guard. Coast Guard likes to call their average day above average. They have an average of 109 search and rescue missions a day, and they usually save about 10 lives a day. So benefits continued. There are advanced schooling. I mean, everybody hears about Ranger School or paratrooper, but you have to think we have things like Master Resiliency Trainer, which teaches you to think positively and to train others to think that way. I myself am an MRT instructor. We have Master Fitness Trainer. We have Pathfinder. So a lot of really high level kind of thinking classes, not just let's jump out of things and see how we land. There's also college tuition reimbursement, although it can be hard to attend school sometimes on active duty. And if you serve 20 years, there's retirement. Now, all branches do have a reserve component. Longer commitments, usually something like 6 years because you're serving part-time as opposed to 3 year. You also have the option of going to Reserve Officer Training Corps to commission if you're attending college. So like Stevens Point, Oshkosh, Ripon, all have ROTC. And that's where kids will train to become officers if they want to make the big bucks and make the big decisions. So if active duty is so great, why a reserve component? Well, you get to be a part-time soldier with a full-time life. I myself joined the Guard at 31. I was a mom already of 3, and I simply did not want to be away from them full-time. My family was here, and I chose to be here. There is college tuition paid if you sign up before college, or loan repayment was something I did. That's a little trickier. I usually suggest stick with the tuition. It's a much easier way to go. Health insurance and retirement benefits. For you parents out there, think about your deductible for a minute, because I worked in health insurance for a long time. I'm going to tell you that my family deductible is $200. That's $200 before the military starts paying, and they pay the majority of it. So for my family personally, with some health issues with the kids, this has been a boon to us. And it's something that really serves a lot of families well. So all reserves are very similar to their active duty counterpart, except for the National Guard. We focus on protecting our home and our community. Not all, but the majority of our activations are here in the United States. So when you saw the Boston bombing, you saw soldiers going door to door, that was us. That was not active duty. When you see hurricanes and you see soldiers there piling sandbags, that's us. We've repaved actually a lot of the roads in northern Wisconsin that washed out a few years back. So that's something that we do and something I'm very proud of. We are state owned and state funded. Part of what that means is when you join the Wisconsin Guard, you're in Wisconsin Guard. You are not in the Texas Guard. You are not in the Idaho Guard. So I cannot say to my soldier, hey, we're transferring you. Guess what? You're leaving home. Doesn't work that way. If you have a student who joins the Wisconsin Guard and gets accepted to college in California, they can come to us and request a transfer and we'll approve it. I've had kids transfer to Florida, Texas. One's in Hawaii. I'm really jealous of him all the time. But we would never force that. That's a choice the soldier makes. We also are eligible for all the same Army trainings and advanced schoolings that active duty is eligible for. It's nothing but options with us because you can join as a high school junior. So, if you think about your kids right now, they're eligible for basic training this summer if they want to start knocking time off their contract. They can go to a 2-year school when they get home and we will pay for it. They can go to a 4-year school and we will pay for it. Or they can choose to join a job market with the training we've given them and find a job. Because as you know, most kids, as they're leaving your home, if they enter the job market, they're going to be slightly above minimum wage in a lot of places. And that's not a living wage where they can rent their own apartment. So by having the Guard and the Guard training, a lot of them have a tendency to land a little bit better jobs. So, sorry, I skipped ahead here. And I apologize for the formatting of this. My PowerPoint switched over to a different presentation, so it's a little goofy looking. But you can see here, tuition at UW Stevens Point is $8,270 a year, just for the privilege of sitting in class. Room and board is another almost $7,600 for a grand total of almost $16,000. I don't know about you guys, but those aren't the loans that I intend to saddle my kids with. But I also wasn't able to save, $80,000, $60,000 for each of my kids. So with the Guard, you're going to see we pay 100% of that tuition as long as they maintain a 2.0 and don't fail anything, which is a really great motivator for them to attend classes and get the grades they need to get. They're also eligible for a reserve GI Bill and their drill pay. And most of my kids come out and break basically even, if not a little bit ahead. If they get scholarships, they come out a lot ahead. So that being said, I'm going to throw up, well, again, you can't see it with the formatting. So sorry about that.
Verbally share maybe your phone number.
Yeah, I figured I'd just pop back here and just give it to everybody. So it is Staff Sergeant Short. My number is 920-428-6769. If you would like to get a hold of me, you can certainly shoot me a text, shoot me a call, or if you contact the school, I'm sure they're happy to pass along my information. If any of you think that it would be beneficial for me to speak with your kids, I am happy to either do a virtual appointment or I can always pop by the house. So you're always welcome at my armory. So did anybody, we're good on questions? Everybody will shoot them to me if they need them.
Yeah, but you do have a chat feature that's in your kind of upper right. Otherwise, I did put Sergeant Short's number in the chat if any of you want to copy it down. I'll give a couple more minutes in case anybody has questions for Sergeant Short. Otherwise, you are also always welcome to contact me in school and I will put you in touch with Sergeant Short. But thank you, Sergeant Short, for sharing some things that I think a lot of us, as parents and, of students don't always think about. So I think it's nice to have that information. So I do appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening.
I do appreciate you having me. It looks like nobody really has any questions. So if it works for you, then I'm going to hop off because I have one that needs help with geometry, if that's okay.
All righty. Thank you, Sergeant Short, and have a great night. And next up, we will, Lorelei, why don't you present, if you can remember to unmute yourself on your bottom.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Lorelei. I am one of the admissions counselors at UW-Stevens Point. I am actually your admissions counselor. And so feel free to reach out to me. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation once I start doing that. But before I do have a form, and you can feel free to fill this out. You do not need to. I just thought that I would put it in the chat. But this form is, it's my virtual contact card. And so if you have students that are interested in Stevens Point, or at least getting connected to someone that can help with that college making decision, feel free to fill out this contact form with your information. And I'm more than happy to connect with you after the presentation through that. Otherwise, let me pull up my presentation. 1 second here while I get that up. Okay, 1 second here. It's being a little weird again. So we tested it. It worked earlier. So let's see.
I will say too, Lorelei, that even though you were from Stevens Point,
Yeah.
You're going to talk clearly, obviously, about Stevens Point, but then you are also going to just kind of give a general overview of maybe some advantages of your UW system.
Yes, I am. So the first part of the presentation, once I get it up and going, I'm gonna talk about the UW system and kind of that holistic view of what the UW system is, what it has to offer, and then I'll be jumping into UW-Stevens Point. And for some reason, it is not showing up as an option for me to share. So 1 second here. Technology is great when it wants to work. Let's see here.
Is it something you can send to me and I can?
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, that would work. So 1 second here. In the meantime, I will get that sent over to you. All right, I just sent it to you if I cannot get it to work. A second here. So odd. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah, we may need to just go through you.
I have it and it's loading.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I apologize if you can hear people in the background. I live at home with my parents, so.
All right, so I am
All right.
going to.
Yeah. So while you do that, I can.
For you.
Yeah, thank you. So while we get that up and running, there we go. And then it's just that presentation right at the bottom.
Okay.
So I'll just introduce myself a little bit more. So I actually grew up in Stevens Point my whole life. I moved once a mile up the road. So I lived on the same street my whole life, which was very exciting. Then I graduated from Stevens Point, or SPASH, in 2015. And from there, decided to move away, as I'm sure some of your students are probably looking to move away, maybe fly the coop, spread their wings a little bit. So I actually went to UW Eau Claire, where I did my undergraduate in organizational communication and religious studies. And from there, I moved back to Stevens Point because it's such a great town. And I've been working in the admissions and recruitment office coming up on 2 years. So in June, I'll be coming up on my 2-year anniversary of working in our office. And I really love what I do. And I'm really excited that I'm able to meet with you all tonight and talk about the UW system as well as UW Stevens Point. So again, were you able
Lorelei,
to
can you see,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you see your Discover Your Purpose, or do I need to swap views? Can you see?
I think you need to swap views. I still see the email.
Oh. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna stop and then restart.
So yeah, while we're waiting, I can kind of start going through what you can expect to hear from me tonight. So looks like it's loading. So
Awesome.
I still do not see the full presentation. I
Keep
still,
talking. I'll work on it.
okay, no, it's okay. Okay, so what you can see tonight is I will talk about the overview. So I do have a picture of Wisconsin with all of the UW schools, but the UW schools, if any of you didn't know, kind of merged with those 2-year schools. And I do see the presentation now. Thank you. And so going into Discover Your Purpose is kind of our tagline, which I can talk about in a little bit. But to start, I'll go right to the UW system information. So again, kind of an overview of the UW system. So there's approximately 165,000 students in the whole UW system. And as I was mentioning, again, all of the 4-year campuses kind of adopted those 2-year campuses. So if you're familiar with maybe UW Marathon County, they kind of merged with Stevens Point. So now they're UW Stevens Point at Wausau or UW Stevens Point at Marshfield. So as you can see, there's 13 universities across 26 campuses. And then going into the next slide, we'll be able to see that nice infograph or the picture that I was talking about. So again, this is a nice picture of Wisconsin, where all of the UWs are located. And I think that this is fantastic when you're trying to decide, how far away do I want to move from home? Do I want to be 3 hours away, or do I want to stay locally? So as you can see, Stevens Point is in the heart of Wisconsin, and we do have those 2 branch campuses, UW Stevens Point at Marshfield and UW Stevens Point at Wausau. But you'll also be able to see the other branch campuses going off, UW Platteville, goes over to UW Platteville Richland, UW Platteville at Washington County. And a nice thing about these kind of the smaller branch campuses is that you're going to be in smaller class sizes, even smaller than, for example, than at Stevens Point. So we have a student ratio of 1 professor to 18 students, which is already small. But if you are maybe looking at, you're like, I just want to go to, maybe if you're looking at a tech school, but you still want to be in that 4-year institution where you can get that 4-year degree, those branch campuses are fantastic options for students. So when you're looking at the 4-year schools, I encourage you to check out the UW Eau Claire Barron County or UW Stevens Point at Wausau to kind of see what fits best. So again, I just wanted to show this so you know where everything is in relation to where you're located, where Stevens Point is, as you're kind of mapping out your college road trip probably this summer for all those campus tours. So going into the application process, I really wanted to talk about kind of the steps to applying to a UW school. And so the application process, you'll see that we have, there's 2 different applications that you can apply to any of the UWs. There's the UW system application versus the common application. So the difference is the UW system application only allows you to apply to 1 campus at a time versus the common application, you're allowed to apply to like up to 100 schools at a time. And so if you're like, you know what, one and done, I'm going to submit my application to all these schools, you can do that. But if you really want to make your essay personalized to every single school you're applying to, the UW system application is going to allow you to do that. If any of you have students that are a little worried about the application process, maybe their GPA isn't the greatest, or they took the ACT and they maybe struggled with it, but they want to submit it, I wanted to note that we do have a 360 degree review process. And what we mean by that is at any of the UW campuses, we take your application and we not only look at that GPA and ACT score if you give it to us, but we also look at, your involvement, your essay, things that you've done. And so it's more of that holistic. We see you as an individual, not just two numbers on a paper. Going into the application fees, so the application fees where all the UW schools are exempt from the application fee except UW Eau Claire, which has a $25 application fee, UW La Crosse, and UW-Madison has a $60 application fee. Otherwise, which is really nice because when I was applying to schools, it was $50 per school. And so we're saving you a lot of money and making it easy for students to apply to the UW system, as well as the test scores. So a lot of the UW schools, except for Madison, are test optional. So you do not need to send your ACT score if you do not want to, which is really nice. So you're all juniors, you probably took the ACT, maybe you got your scores back already and you're like, what the heck? I had a bad day and I didn't do that well. If you don't feel comfortable like sending that to the school, that's okay. You don't need to. We'll just go off your GPA. But don't fret if you do want to submit your ACT score. I will kind of put myself out there. I got a 17 on my ACT and I still got into college and I graduated and I'm in my master's program right now. So it's not the end of the world if you got a lower ACT score. Things happen. And then also transcript is something that you'll need to send to all schools. So going into the next slide, kind of talking about important dates for at least UW-Stevens Point. So I do encourage you to be checking every UW school's website to see when their dates are. I know UW Eau Claire opens their applications before August 1st. So just make sure if you are planning on applying to different schools, you know when those applications open. But at UW-Stevens Point, August 1st is when those applications open. So I do encourage you, if your students are planning on applying to schools, start applying early, August 1st. Not only is it summer and they'll have a little more time to work on those essays, but as well as that's when a lot of scholarship opportunities are available. So UW-Stevens Point, for example, has 2 automatic scholarships to students that meet the criteria based on their ACT and GPA. And once you, it's automatic. So it's first come, first serve. So I do encourage you to get those applications in August, so you are most eligible for the most scholarships. We have students that sometimes wait until end of October and they're not eligible for those scholarships, but they meet the criteria. That's because we gave out the funds that we did have. So I do encourage you, I'm going to repeat this again, have your students apply in August. Looking even farther, October 1st, that's for every campus. That's when FAFSA opens. FAFSA is the federal aid, or it's the student aid through the federal government. So it's one application. You fill out your tax information from the year before, and then you send it to the schools that you're interested in, and they will go through the algorithms, and then they'll award you a financial aid offer. I do encourage you, again, to do that as soon as possible, because that also is kind of first come, first serve. And so get those applications in as soon as possible. And then for Stevens Point, November 15th is when that merit-based scholarship priority deadline is. So we do have one application for all the scholarships to first-year students. November 15th is when that is due for priority. And I do encourage you, this goes to all the UW schools, be checking their scholarship opportunities and start working on those applications as soon as possible. So going into tuition prices, so the tuition prices, I couldn't speak on all of the UWs because it fluctuates, and it fluctuates every year. But I do know that the UW system is one of the most affordable systems. For example, we have Illinois students that come to Wisconsin because the Illinois in-state tuition is more expensive than the Wisconsin Midwest Student Exchange tuition. I know that that's for a fact through UW-Stevens Point and maybe different other places, but know that UW schools do have affordable tuition. So I know UW-Stevens Point has actually one of the cheapest tuition rates in the UW school, and you are all from Wisconsin, so you'll see the Wisconsin rate here. So 15,931, that's per year. So divide it in half, that's what you'll be paying each semester. And that does include room and board. And financial conversations can happen a little bit later, but do know, again, there's financial aid, there's scholarships, and there's grant opportunities for you to help get that price a little bit lower. So kind of moving away from the UW system as a holistic view, I do want to go into and plug UW-Stevens Point a little bit. And so UW-Stevens Point, some fast facts about Stevens Point. If you are not familiar with our campus, we are a medium-sized school. And so we have a lot of great programs for our students, and that does allow, because we're a medium-sized school, that does allow those smaller class sizes. And if you are a student that's like, I really want that professor interaction, I don't want TAs teaching my classes, TAs are teacher assistants, or you're like, I want to get to know my classmates, I don't want to be in a class of 50 or more, you're going to be able to sit in those smaller class sizes at Stevens Point. And so some fast facts is that we have nationally recognized academics. Some of the most well-known academics is the natural resources, education, music, theater, business, and health sciences. But know if you are like, I'm not interested in any of those, we have great programs in everywhere on campus. Those are just more of our well-known ones. We have Division III athletics. So if you're an athlete or your student's an athlete and they're interested in joining athletics, know that we do have that. We have over 200 organizations and clubs here on campus. I always like to plug, I know that we don't have students here, but just to give us a laugh, we have a ukulele tree climbing club. So if you play ukulele and you like to climb a tree, I mean, why not put it together? And then we also have internships. I know as a parent, you're probably like, okay, you're going to school, but what kind of experience are you going to get? We do have partnerships with Skyward, Century Insurance, Delta Dental, just to name a few, of internship opportunities that are paid or not paid, it depends, but for students to get that experience. UW-Stevens Point is well known for their opportunities for students to get that hands-on learning, really get outside of the classroom, and I think that you'll be able to see it if you come tour, you'll be able to see the facilities, but we have fantastic relationships with businesses in the area. So moving into Visit Campus, I just want you to know the importance of not only visiting, hopefully, UW-Stevens Point, but as well as other campuses. You know, you can look online, you can talk to recruiters over the internet, but it really says a lot when you do go to that campus and you walk around the campus and you get the feeling of the layout, you get the feeling of how students feel on campus or how the faculty and staff engage with their students. So I do encourage you all to bring your students onto campus, go for a campus tour. I am going to shamelessly plug our next Viewpoint Day, which is April 24th. It is a Saturday. I'll repeat that again in case anyone's writing that down, April 24th. A Viewpoint Day is like a regular Saturday campus visit, so you'll come for a full campus tour, but then the week following, you're going to be sent links, or you'll be sent links the day of, to sign up for academic department meetings. So you're going to be able to, the week after, meet with an academic department and learn more about the majors that you're interested in. And you can sign up for more than one. So this year, our Viewpoint Days look a little bit different. So hopefully in the fall, maybe they'll look a little bit more normal. So if you wanted to wait to the fall, but if you are itching to get on campus, I think April 24th would be a fantastic day to come view campus and then get in on those webinars the week after to meet with academic departments to talk about what the majors have to offer. So that's kind of end of my spiel. Going into the next slide and the last slide, this is my contact information. So this is my direct phone number, my email, and then I do have texting services. So if you need to text me at any point, I know that that's sometimes easier than calling or emailing. So feel free to write this down. I can also add this information into my chat. And so Yeah, any questions for me at all?
I'm going to stop sharing, Lorelai.
Yeah, no, that's totally okay.
And then I'm going to allow for questions, but can you just talk real quick about what are things looking like right now on campus for you? And then what is your projection for fall? Because I know a lot of students have been asking that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just putting in my contact information quick into the chat. But the what the fall is going to look like is we are looking at being back up to 80% capacity and like in person. So we are going to have students. If anybody's looking, the 715-346 is my phone. 715-553 is my text. But so 80% capacity back in person. So that means in-person classes, more student organizations meeting, and we are having students living on campus again at hopefully a full capacity. And so we have hopes that with the vaccine coming out, more social distancing, that we're going to be able to have hopefully a more normal fall semester. I know that we're having graduation this May, so that's really exciting. I believe we're hosting that outside. And so we are going to have a graduation, so students are going to be able to walk. So things are going back to normal. And I understand that, when you're looking ahead, are things going to be normal, especially for any of you that do have seniors coming into UW or UW Stevens Point or any of the other UW schools. And so that's what Stevens Point is planning for. I know that there's talk of bringing faculty and staff back to campus. Some of us are still working remotely, but we're going back to normal as much as possible with the health and safety of our students and faculty and staff in mind. I can't promise anything, so things can always change. So take my word, but don't hold on to it too tight just in case something does happen. But we are really excited to have things back to normal soon. Yeah, any other questions at all? No, that's okay. All right, and I can hang tight unless you don't need me anymore. Yeah, my contact information is in the chat. You need to reach out to me, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I was the first person in my family to go to a 4-year school, so I understand if any of you are first-year parents or first-year generation student, it can be confusing. So reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions and set up one-on-one meetings and chat about things because I want to be the most assistance to anyone and everyone.
Thank you, Lorelai. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. But if students or parents want to contact you, if they can look at your information in the chat. Otherwise, they can contact me. I do know that you've done some like Google Meets with some of our students. This year has been a little challenging because typically our admissions personnel come to school and meet with students, and this year we've had to kind of do it all remotely. But you're still available, and like I said, you're our Stevens Point person, so I appreciate that. So thank you. I'm going to turn over now to Hannah. Hannah Erdman is our friend from Ripon College, and Hannah does have a presentation, so I'm glad that that's working for you, Hannah. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we'll go from there.
Helps to start at the beginning. Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah Erdman. I am an admission counselor and the Transfer and International Coordinator for Ripon College. My presentation tonight is primarily covering the general overview of Wisconsin's private colleges, and then I can talk more specifically about Ripon after I go through some of these slides. I have been with Ripon for almost 4 full years now. My 5th anniversary will be coming up in August. I'm also a Ripon alum, so I'm very familiar with the campus and the experiences that our students get to have. And I know that private schools in general can seem very out of reach and not in line with what you think your family could maybe financially afford. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, you have a little better sense of all of the opportunities that come with the Wisconsin private schools. So there are actually 23 campuses. The little box down over here, that represents the 10 schools within the Milwaukee area, but we span the state of Wisconsin. There are just about 52,000 students who attend private institutions within the state. You are going to get a hands-on, interactive, personalized educational experience within these institutions. The average class size across our 23 campuses is 16. So those small class sizes are sometimes even smaller than that, depending on the individual school that you're looking at. And there is plenty of opportunity to find your passion within the private schools in Wisconsin. With over 470 academic programs, that is a lot of choice. And direct admit gives students a lot of opportunity to explore. So for parents who might not know what a direct admit means, that at most of the small institutions, there are not like colleges, like the College of Education, the College of Business, the colleges of the sciences, because the campus itself can all fit within one. So typically a direct admit program means that as long as you're enrolled in the institution and admitted to the school, you can take classes in any academic area of interest and go from there. You don't have to be approved to take classes in those programs. And then outside the classroom, there is so much going on. Many of these campuses offer living on campus, and so it's very much a whole experience. So there are so many different clubs and organizations, community service and leadership projects. Almost all of our schools that offer athletics are Division III, and that can be done. More information can be found about that at each school, but there are club sports, intramural sports, varsity sports, all different ways for students to be active. And then traveling through domestic and international programs is also a really popular experience within our private schools. There is, I apologize for the typo. Diverse campuses, about 26% of the enrolled students within the community of these schools are underrepresented minorities. And we also work really hard to be accessible for families. 32% of our students in these campuses are considered low income and Pell eligible. So we're trying to break down as many barriers to give students access to that personalized education as we can. And then I think the biggest preconceived notion with private schools is that they are not affordable. But all of our institutions have very generous financial aid. In 2018, 2019, 97% of all of the students who attended a Wisconsin private school received financial aid. There are plenty of opportunities for grants, scholarships, both competitive and academic merit-based scholarships and work study. And then I have a slide at the end that kind of shows the scholarship links for all of the schools. So if you want to take like a screenshot, let me know, or I can share this presentation at the end as well. This slide looks at the net tuition cost. I think the biggest shock is usually the sticker shock that comes with that. So the average tuition and fees sticker price for Wisconsin schools is $33,184. But if you take the average financial aid package for first-year students of those schools, the average amount of pocket cost for the tuition is $5,178. So that shows that that is within reach and comparable as you're looking at different options for school within the state of Wisconsin and outside of Wisconsin as well. So all of these are the schools that make up our WACU, which is the Wisconsin Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. So every school has scholarship or financial aid opportunities. I really encourage you to not let the sticker shock frighten you away. I personally would have never been able to attend a private institution had it not been for the generous financial aid and scholarships I received as a first-year student, but also through continuing scholarships that I had access to as a current student while I was at Ripon. So I understand that finances is usually a big piece of families' concern as they're selecting any school that a student is going to attend, but go through the whole financial aid process with the schools you're interested in because you may be surprised. And then Wisconsin private schools prepare our students for high demand fields. As you can see from the slide, among these colleges, we're producing half of the 4-year nursing degrees, 40% of the health professions, 25% of the engineering degrees. All of these are really up and coming, high demand fields and plenty of opportunity with that. And then there are a lot of really great graduate level and professional schools within our private institutions as well in that health professions. And students who attend the schools for undergraduate degrees find themselves to be really competitive candidates as they're going into that next step of school. And then one thing to look at as you're comparing costs to is the 4-year graduation rate and how quickly you're going to be to time to degree. And on average for our 23 schools, the 4-year graduation rates, so starting and finishing within 8 semesters is 63% higher than students who attend 4-year public institutions. So that is a way to cut down on costs too if you are finishing within that degree. If you want to learn more about like majors that are offered, scholarship information, things like that, I encourage you to visit wisconsinprivatecolleges.org. All of that can be found within there and all of that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just chat more about Ripon and kind of specifically about what that is. So Ripon is actually one of the smallest private schools in Wisconsin. Our current student population is around 800. You might ask, why would I want to go to a school that small? It's really your personalized experiences. And I think one unique thing about Ripon that is different from just about any school in Wisconsin is how we do our general education curriculum. A lot of times parents, you're like, well, you're going to go to school for your first 2 years as a student, and then you're going to take your general education requirements. And then after you finish those general education requirements, that's when you get to jump into your major and take those classes. At Ripon, we have totally turned that on its head and offer something called our Catalyst curriculum. As the job world is ever evolving, your transferable skills are what are going to take you and make you marketable, regardless of if you want to do something within your major or end up in a very different career later down the road. So our 5-course Catalyst curriculum focuses on skills in critical thinking, quantitative reasoning, collaboration, problem solving. All of these things are really important to the liberal arts and how you can kind of adapt as the world changes. And so you are only required to take those 5 classes. Aside from that, it's up to you for the major and minors that you would like. It gives students a lot of freedom, flexibility, choice to double major, double minor, do independent research, a study abroad opportunity, internships, all of these things. And so it's just really giving our students a lot of say in what their college education is going to look like. So it's a good investment for what that is. In terms of looking at programs and things that students really gravitate towards at Ripon, our top 5 programs are pre-health professions, business, exercise science with an emphasis in athletic training, education, and psychology, with a lot of cool research opportunities that come with psychology and the faculty that teach in that department. In terms of kind of how our application process works and things like that, we're a rolling admission school that offers guaranteed merit-based scholarship to all students who are admitted to Ripon. The current scholarship range for students is $20,000 to $36,000 per year. That means as long as they are admitted to Ripon, they're guaranteed a minimum of $20,000 in scholarship that stays with them for the time it takes them to complete their degree, and does not account for any additional financial aid you may qualify for through the financial aid process. And I think that kind of covers like the highlights of all things Ripon and private opportunities in Wisconsin.
Thank you, Hannah. Does anybody have any direct questions for Hannah at this time? All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I am just going to hit some highlights about Fox Valley Tech and talk a little bit about apprenticeship, and kind of review your timelines and things. So hopefully my stuff works. Let's see, Fox Valley Tech. Okay. Can anyone see my Fox Valley Tech tab? Yep. Somebody nod, smile. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So I'm acting as your Fox Valley Tech rep. We are in the technical college system and area served by Fox Valley Technical College. But first, what I want to say is that because Little Wolf High School is in the Fox Valley Tech district, it does not mean our students can only go to Fox Valley Tech. Of the techs around us, we have Midstate, we have NWTC, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay, and they all have different satellite campuses. And I think that like when I was going to school, technical colleges did not have maybe as great a reputation, but I feel like in our area, especially in our state, we are very lucky to have such a robust technical college system. So Fox Valley Tech, this is kind of their main page of their fvtc.edu. The two areas that I really want to highlight for you are their academics tab, where it talks about all of their degree, diploma, certificate kind of programs of study. And there's a lot. Everything from agriculture, aviation, business management, nursing, marketing, transportation, public safety. So I think that's a really good place to start, but also their admissions tab. And this kind of goes for any college website, I think. They all have like a tab about their programs and academics, but also about requesting info and applying. The other thing I will say about the technical college is that if you have a student who is interested in an apprenticeship, and I'm going to just stop sharing quick, interested in apprenticeship, a lot of our companies are paying for the trades and the education for those, depending upon how local they are through Fox Valley Tech. I see, Melissa, you had a question?
I'm actually having a computer issue, so no, I accidentally hit the raise hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So our technical colleges tuition ranges about anywhere from $200 to $300 per credit, and students will pay anywhere from about $25,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 a year to attend a technical college. And in terms of the different types of, you can get an associate degree, you can get a technical diploma, you can get a certificate. And I do know Fox Valley wanted me to highlight not only their agricultural business programs, but their culinary arts, their public safety, law enforcement, especially the FBI does a lot of their training at Fox Valley Tech, which I thought was very cool once I heard about that. The construction trades and welding, and a lot of those programs are just booming, bursting at the seams. And let's say a student wanted to study welding, you can get a 2-year degree in welding, you can get a technical certificate in welding, you can get like a 3-month certificate in welding and hit the job market. So I always tell parents and students, don't count out the technical college option. Also, the technical colleges are very transferable within our state. So that's always a plus. Our technical colleges, I was hoping, Fox Valley is very big on having summer camps this summer, but they are not having their summer camps, which makes me sad. But if you have a student who is interested in learning about any of the technical colleges, feel free to contact me or look on any of your Wisconsin Technical College websites. That's kind of a little bit about the technical colleges. I did want to just reiterate your timelines. Now that it's spring is kind of and hopefully it's spring, now it's kind of your information gathering phase where your students can, I encourage you obviously in virtual time to explore a lot of college websites, but don't hesitate to click that visit button if you want to visit campuses, because I know a lot of campuses are starting to open up their visit us or small group tours or individual tours, and get in touch with them that way. I agree with, I think it was Lorelei said, one of the best things to do is visit a college campus, because I know that you get a certain feel, if you will, from being on a campus. And a lot of students think like, well, I like a large campus, and then they get there and they're like, oh, I don't like a large campus. So you don't know some of those things until you get there. I know our juniors took their ACT on March 9th. Yay. And I do know that a lot of our colleges are having test optional, but because our state pays for our students to take the ACT at least once, which they did, that they will get their scores coming up in about 3 to 4 weeks. We get their scores, the students themselves get their scores, and if they created their ACT account, which they all did, they can send their scores that way as well. One other thing I want to talk about real quick before we end is the world of work. I think COVID has impacted a lot of our students and families. And so I have talked to a lot of parents and students who are wanting to jump into the world of work right away, and then have said, like, I want to use that time to either save money, or I want to use that time to kind of figure some things out. And I'd say prior to COVID, I was not a huge fan of taking the gap year or working. However, one thing that I do tell students is that your higher education is never an all or nothing kind of a thing. So if you are interested in working, you may want to work and maybe try even one class to kind of move yourself forward. So don't think you have to be a full-time student or a part-time student. You can certainly take a class if that's the route you want to go to as you're preparing your future. The last thing I want to do is plug my parent-student conferences for spring. These can be face-to-face here at school. I can also do them virtually, and I offer a wide variety of daytime, evening options. I think several nights I'm here till 8. Meeting with families, so don't hesitate to call school and reach out to me that way. So I do appreciate your time. I am going to stop recording, and I will